Have you ever heard people say money makes money or the rich just keep getting richer? Well, there's a reason why these phrases sticks around. And today, I'm going to give you a sneak peek behind the curtain to explain why your net worth can start to skyrocket once you hit that $100,000 mark. In this video, I want to break down exactly why your net worth takes off after reaching $100,000. And I'll also share some practical tips on how to get that number, and maybe even what to focus on if you're not there yet. So, why does people think hitting $100,000 makes such a big difference? Well, a lot of people think it's all about crossing some magical threshold that suddenly unlocks access to better opportunities and higher returns. And yeah, that's kind of part of it, but there are actually two more crucial reasons why things start to snowball after hitting $100,000. And surprisingly, they don't really have much to do with special investment or any sort of exclusive access. Let's dive in. The first reason is all about scale of capital. Let's talk about what happens when you reinvest different amount of money, but with the same rate of return. Say 10%. Imagine you start by investing $1,000 and you get that 10% return. After 1 year, your investment grows to about $1,100. That's a profit of just $100. Not bad, right? But what if you invest $10,000 instead? That same 10% return bump your investment up to $11,000. Now we're talking about a profit of $1,000 just by scaling up the initial amount. But here's where things get really interesting. Let's say you hit that $100,000 mark and you invest that at a 10% return. After 1 year, you've got $110,000. That's a $10,000 profit, 10 times more than what you've got when you started with $10,000, even though the rate of return stays exactly the same. So the risk level, the time period, and the percentage return are all identical in these three scenarios. The only difference is the starting amount, and that's where scaling becomes so powerful. The bigger the capital you have to work with, the bigger the return get in absolute dollar. And that is what really accelerates your wealth over time. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, right? The bigger it gets, the faster it grows. The second reason your net worth can take off after $100,000 is because of something that's often called the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. Now, what exactly is compound interest? Put it simply, it's the interest you earn not just on your initial investment, but also in the interest that your investment has already earned. So basically, you've got your money making money, and on top of that, that new money is making even more money. And it's kind of hard to wrap your head around without some numbers, so let's break it down even more. Say you're saving about $1,000 a month, right? And you're getting an average of 8% return annually. After 7 years, you have hit the first big milestone, $100,000. It took some time, around 7 years to get there, but this is where the real magic really starts to happen. And once you hit that $100,000 mark, the next milestone becomes a whole lot easier to reach. Now you're not just earning 8% on your saving, you're earning it on that full $100,000 that's already sitting there. And the cool part is, you're also earning it on the interest that $100,000 has generated. So instead of having to wait another 7 years, it only takes about 4 years to get to $200,000. And that's almost half the time. And it gets even better. The next $100,000 after that just takes over 3 years. And the process just keeps on speeding up. Every $100,000 comes faster because now you've got more and more money working for you. And by the time you hit $1 million, earning an extra $100,000 just from the interest that your money is generating takes only about a year. That's the snowball effect. Money is making more money, which is making even more money. And the hardest part is at the beginning when you don't have much to work with and compound interest hasn't kicked in yet. And this is why so much personal finance advice at the start is all about watching every penny, cutting out these little luxuries, and focusing on saving as much as possible. And it's because every dollar counts when you're trying to reach that first $100,000 mark. It feels like you're trying to push a boulder uphill, and every step of the way is slow and challenging. And once you get there, it becomes more about letting the system do the work for you. But the key takeaway, the first part, it's all about grinding and saving. But once you have some capital, compound interest is what makes your wealth start to grow on its own. So now that you understand the two big reasons, scaling up your capital and compound interest, let's talk about what you can do if you haven't quite hit the $100,000 mark yet, and how you can set up yourself so you can benefit from these principles sooner rather than later. Now, the first tip to help you save $100,000 faster is simple. Give yourself more time to invest. And let's break it down with an example. Say you're earning around $60,000 a year, right? And you put 20% of that into investment. That means you're investing $12,000 each year. And with an average return of around 8%, after 23 years, you end up with around $730,000. Now, here's what I think is very interesting. If you keep investing for 4 more years, that $730,000 can grow to over $1 million. And that's a huge jump with just a few extra years. So this just goes to show you that the real gain comes later in the journey, not at the beginning. So every day you're not investing, you're missing out on the power of time and compounding, because time is the most valuable thing you got on your side when it comes to investing. So even if you're not at the $100,000 mark yet, just start with whatever you can, because the key is to start early and remain consistent. Because the more time your money has to grow, the more interest it earns. And that interest starts to earn interest too. It's just like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but as it keeps rolling, it picks up snow, it gets even bigger and start moving even faster. Eventually, it gets to a point where it's unstoppable and the gains become extremely exponential. And that's the magic of giving your investment time to work for you. The second thing you can do to save $100,000 faster is to increase how much you're saving. Now, this doesn't mean you need to magically come up with $100,000 overnight or have a giant lump sum to put in right away. Instead, it's all about thinking of ways to boost up what you're putting away on a monthly basis. And notice I'm not telling you to chase higher return or find the absolute best investment fund, because I see a lot of people get stuck on trying to squeeze an extra 1 or 2% return, optimizing every details, finding the perfect strategy, the best platform and all that. And yeah, it can make a difference, but honestly, the real game changer is simply putting in more money, because that's what's going to drive your result in a big way. Now let's put it into perspective. Say you invest $200 a month for 30 years at a rate of 10% return. By the end, you end up with just $400,000. Now, if you somehow got an extra 2% return on your investing, bumping that number to 12%, you end up with just under $600,000, which is definitely a nice jump to your investment. But what if instead of focusing on all these extra returns, which are largely out of your control, you focus on earning more money and increasing the number you're investing every month? And maybe it's negotiating a raise, starting a side hustle, or just even figuring out how to cut a few more expenses. Let's say instead of putting all your energy and chasing that extra 2%, you manage to double what you're investing each month, from $200 to $400. Suddenly, you're looking at $800,000 over the same 30-year period. And that's a huge difference. For me, the approach is simple. Focus on killing it on a day-to-day basis, earning money from your job, side gig, whatever works best for you, and take a portion of that money and invest it regularly. Start early, even if it's a small amount, so you're building those habits and letting compound interest do its thing. And then when you get to the point that you're making a lot more money to invest, you're not starting from scratch, because you already have the momentum and the foundation. The bottom line is the combination of investing more money regularly and giving it as much time as possible can have a massive impact on your overall net worth. So thank you guys for watching. If you gained any value from this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and push the notification bell for more on sustainable fashion and personal finance.